Intersection Magazine Podcast.
Welcome to Intersection Magazine Podcast. This is really a summary of the July 2025 issue. Once again, thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. We'll be covering maybe about three major areas. The first is a summary of an Africa Reimagined event where they featured a conversation with AHL Ventures CEO Brad MacGrath. He'll be talking about relations between founders and their boards. Second, we'll be covering Balaji Srinivanasan's Network School Fellowship. I'll just be going through some of the basics that are involved in the school that he set up and what it involves in terms of what it's going to mean for you to apply. And then finally, I'll be going into some views about two specific banks, Stanbic and Standard Chartered, having attended some of their AGMs as well as some observations that I've had in the sector. As I said before, thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing. So as we normally do in the magazine, we also try to advertise some of the services that are part of the Hope First Enterprise package. We teach web design as well as web hosting. We believe that you should be involved in both. They're both profitable businesses. The way you host a site, there are several options that you have. You could host it as a reseller, which means you purchase space from existing platforms, and then of course the price you pay to host the space is not the same price you charge your customers. So you make your money on top of a service that already exists. Of course, what you're normally looking for in terms of who's providing the service is a 24-hour support, most of which these packages come with. The second thing about web design is we normally have very basic designs that people won't put together, or you can get a little bit more complex in terms of e-commerce sites, or maybe sites that go beyond just a static. So what people normally do is you have systems that already exist that incorporate databases that make the design of your site a little simpler. These are called content management systems. So you input your data, move a few things around, and then the system automatically updates and fixes itself. So this is the second option. The third option is through pure code. At heart, you find pages that have maybe, these are some of the older languages, HTML, cascading style sheets or CSS, and then JavaScript or JS. So those are some of the basic sites that exist with these frameworks. So we try to teach you all of this so that when you come across, for example, artificial intelligence, you can be designing with a better background. You know what's going on under the hood, which I think is a better is a better place to be. Now, what you should be looking forward to when you go into the article which we've put together for AHL Ventures and Brad MacGrath's conversation is there are several layers of communication or conversations that will be taking place between the founder and different people that are part of his circle as he's working or he's building or he's improving what he's already built. So what MacGrath uses, what he's done in this conversation is he gives you some of the perspectives that have come from, for example, the director, what founders have said to him, what board chairs have said to him, and then he also likes to give you, attempts to give you a rough idea what to do, or how high performing boards unlock value. One of the things it points out is decision making. He also points out the importance of maximizing value, financial reporting, etc., etc. Now, he also points out some of the ideas or some of the warning signs that people who are part of your board will be looking for, or will have their antennas open to, in terms of when they're dealing with you. So you obviously want to make sure that you're not doing any of those things, so that you can have a good relationship with those who are part of your board. This ties in well with another part of a project that we have, or a partnership that we have with Founders Freedom. Founders Freedom is based in Kenya. They help you into what you need to establish yourself, or establish governance systems in your organization or your business. So whether it's in terms of strategy or documentation, all those kinds of issues. In terms of their services, they have a preparation period, they have an assessment period, recommendation period, as well as a business growth roadmap. So we found that your organization, or many of the people that are going to fund your business, are going to be interested in your structure, and if you have a board, an existing board. So these are some of the important things that you need to have in your mind as you work towards building your company or expanding, and as well as, of course, raising support. Under the Hope First Publishing section, we have 2 books which we've put together, the works of the late Daniel Chanda. One of them is for communicators, the other is for consultants. And the one for consultants, what it does is it gives you certain terms that you'll come across or that you will see misused. And the idea is to help you strengthen your communication skills when you use these terms, when you write proposals, so that you understand really what you're saying. Online subscription costs are also made available for those of you who might want to subscribe to any of our platforms, on the magazine, as well as, of course, the podcast. We've recently introduced a more effective podcasting channel using YouTube, which we hope to monetize. And in the next few months, I'm talking about maybe September, October, November, we'll also be putting together some pieces on how to monetize social media. But this is the way to go for the future. Now, those of you who listen to the podcast may not know that you can actually benefit from those who are listening to the podcast through all our channels, from Spotify to Apple to YouTube. And benefits means, of course, you can advertise or you can sponsor a season. A season is about 4 episodes per month, so that's 12 episodes for a season. Sponsoring a season means you get reach for all the conversations we'll be having. So we have a conversation with you for a certain theme which we'll be focusing on for that season, and your company can be the person or the group behind the sponsorship of that season. We've also put together the costs for advertising in our magazine. The costs are really reasonable, so you should think about that. Those who are interested in more spiritual conversations can subscribe to Transition, Transformation, and Radical Thinking podcast. I put together some of my thoughts, especially on spiritual subjects, as that tends to be my lens or how I view the world. The sites, or the costs rather, for web design and hosting are also presented, as is the structure or the method that I normally use in terms of working with my clients in web design. Now, I've put together the piece for the Networking School by Balaji, Srinivanasan, because a lot of my interaction, especially in Tanzania, was with people who were in the space, who were influenced by the writings of Balaji, Srinivanasan, and others. He has written a book about network states and presents quite a number of ideas, including the emergence of new types of government, trends towards Web3 and decentralization and all sorts of other amazing ideas. Now, when you read to understand some of why he's putting together his school in Singapore, you'll need to read the piece that I've put together to get a bit of a philosophical underpinning or understanding of what he's trying to do. He explains why there's going to be, or there is, a shift from Silicon Valley and why he wants to set up in Singapore. So he starts from the USA, then California, then Silicon Valley, and then looks at the universities or the universities, of course, themselves, as well as the individual businesses that exist and the structural changes that are taking place in each of those major areas. So it's a bit like macro to micro. So I did really appreciate how he makes his case for these ideas, as well as why I think those of you who are interested should subscribe or should apply. To do the application, all you have to do is go to ns.com and you can take it from there. Now, my movie of choice was an interesting piece, I suppose, under Apple. My argument has been that with the amazing focus on quality products and their approach towards design, I think informs a lot of what the work that they're doing with films and movie series as well. So you will enjoy watching the characters of Dope Thief as they navigate relationships and challenges and living in a small city and feeling like they're stuck in that small city, how they deal with corruption and how they're just basically trying to survive and hustle, and the interactions that take place between family members dealing with issues of forgiveness, issues of past pain and trauma. Quite a number of layers exist in this series. I must admit I expected it to go a little bit longer, but they covered all the bases I think they needed to cover in the 6 or so episodes. So I think you'll enjoy watching Dope Thief as well. Now, in terms of book summaries, I've put together, or I found some amazing pieces from a character, I suppose, called Timothy Amo. He puts together summaries of books that you might benefit from. This book, I suppose, is called Never Split the Difference. So he lets you identify the major areas, I think about 7 major areas or 7 takeaways, he says, that he learned from reading this book about splitting the difference. We also have a 4-month summary of Intersection Magazine that you can have a look at. Those of you who are in the region or in the area or on the continent who are interested in investing in real estate, I wanted to show you this, to present you this option. A relative of mine wants to sell his property. It's located in quite a distance from the capital city, so it's rather quiet and peaceful and picturesque. There's an amazing manicured lawn, CCTV, wall security, as well as a gated property, facility for your security guard, 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, a living room, a modern kitchen, the lawn as well as a garden where you can produce your own organic food or whatever else you want to plant. And so the pricing is for one of the pricing offers is for those who want to purchase the whole thing, including the furniture, or those who want to purchase everything excluding the furniture, or rather without the furniture. So have a look at that, and you can get in touch with us on the numbers that we made available for that sale. Now, having attended some of the conversations or the meetings between 2 banks, one specific bank for which I have some investment, really small amounts of investment, I found an interesting conversation taking place. Of course, as can be expected, most of the banks will tell you that they're the leading players or they're the most important parts of the ecosystem. But one of the things that was interesting is, as one bank which was talking about exiting the corporate or the personal banking space and going into the corporate banking space, I wanted to see what that meant for the other one, which in a sense had already been set up as one of the main entities in the banking space, at least both personal and corporate. So with one of the bigger ones leaving the corporate space, I wanted to know what this would mean for the other smaller banks, or what this would mean for the other banks' share, or the chunk that they'll be getting from the corporate space or from the personal space now that the other was leaving the corporate space. I'm talking, of course, of Stanbic and Stanchart. Stanchart is moving and focusing a lot more on corporate banking and leaving, I think, about 3 or 4 different markets south of the Sahara. And I wanted to put together some of my thoughts about what that means. So I used artificial intelligence to compare operations and market share for both banks. Also compared services offered by both banks. And then I also asked about investment solutions in terms of what specific services each of these banks was offering. Going beyond what I had covered, what we had covered before, what we were trying to uncover from services to investment. These might be useful tools for those of you who want to engage a little bit deeper or with these services or the investments, and understand a little bit more about the market, especially if you want to invest. So I think that's an interesting article. My usual piece where I do some micro poetry, as I told you before, it's really more biographical work, should I call it that? But most of the things that you read are hidden in poetry. Maybe one day it will make a little bit more sense for those of you who are present, but I hope to put together an anthology, all the poems that I've written, put them together in an illustrated book that will have a lot bit more, in my view, a little bit more impact. We also give you a bit of an update for those of you who support the bakery to have a better understanding of what we're doing, what we're building, as well as, of course, those of you who already are part of our orbit, whether you purchased rolls or cakes or pizzas or pies or anything else that we've put together before. So that's really July 2025. We're coming really close to the end of this 9th volume, so we're going into volume 10, which is really exciting. Volume 10 means we've been in the business for now 10 years. We've only just started to monetize, so those are good steps. Once again, thank you for listening, thank you for subscribing. I've been your host, Nicholas Kianda.
Intersection Magazine Podcast.